Hello everyone, welcome back to Voice Essentials Live. It is so good to have you joining us today, and I'm really looking forward to today. Our first live guest for the year, which is really exciting. In fact, funny little story, Michelle was our first guest in 2020. A lot has happened in the last 12 months for everyone, all and sundry. So it's going to be a great show, as long as I can see Mackenzie with her fingers crossed, hoping that the tech works today. I have a quiet confidence, Mackenzie, that our tech will go really well. For those of you who watch the show regularly, you know we've had some tech issues last year. Well, we haven't actually had any tech issues this year, so you know, I'm sure Linda will let us know that everything is a-okay, and or otherwise. But look, we are going to get straight to it today. I'm so excited to have Michelle join us, and I know that we're going to have such a great discussion today about mindset and our attitude towards learning and singing, and you know, singers, it's all in your mind.
Sound check. Check one, check two.
Oh, hang on a second. Well, I'm pressing all the wrong buttons. Hey, Michelle, how you doing?
Hello. I'm great. I'm so glad to be back with you.
It's so good to have you on the show. And if the only tech issue that we have today is me pressing the wrong buttons, we're all good. It'll be fine.
Well.
It'll be fine, because poor Brian, as Mackenzie pointed out, poor Brian, Professor Brian Gill, who was my last live guest last year, we had a torrid time. Anyway, that is behind us, which is, you know, pretty much in keeping with 2020, wasn't it? I mean, and it rolls on. How have you been?
Really well. I mean, it's like you're afraid to, like, you know, knock on wood. It's actually, you know, I have to admit that when March rolled around, so we locked down in March.
Yeah.
And I just had this knowing that this was going to be a long haul.
Yeah.
Like, I just really felt in my nuggets, this is going to be a year or two. Buckle up, Buttercup.
Yeah.
And just, you know, I work with teachers and all of that. So it was like, just get these people online as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So I've actually been okay, because I don't know, my heart was like prepared for the long haul.
Yeah.
I am tired of being with the same 4 people all the time.
How long have you been in
Forever.
lockdown? Like how long has it been for you?
Since March 13th.
So
11 months.
So you've literally been locked down at home for 11 months.
Well, we live in California.
Okay.
We can go out and do the masks and all of that.
Yeah.
Some things are open, some things are closed. I do have, my parents are high risk. My dad has a terminal form of cancer right now.
Oh.
So we just can't, you know, better safe than sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
That kind of thing.
Absolutely.
I am, Michael, I'm in California near Sacramento area.
Uh-huh.
So we're open, like technically we're open, but personally I am not open. And our kids' school district is on lockdown. Like our school district everybody is distance learning.
Yeah, okay.
So I know there are several school districts in California that are open or half and half, but nope, my daughter has a learning station in one room, son in the other room. It's bananas.
It's bananas. I still have been reminding myself that when we went into lockdown late March last year, that all of the leading epidemiologists, virologists, they were all saying this is going to have a 2 to 3 year arc. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be over quickly. This is going to take time, and their expertise is showing to be right on the money, isn't it? We still haven't actually gone the full 12 months yet, really. So, yeah. Well, I hope things can get brighter for all of us. I mean, as these vaccines roll out, and things are much easier in Australia. We've got a significant little thing happening in Victoria at the moment. Hello to all of my Victorian friends. We're with you, and as you can hear, there are people are really thinking of everyone else at the moment, which is good. Michelle, very quickly, because we've had you on the show. Well, we've never had you on the show enough, in my opinion. But anyway, we've had you on the show. Cool. We've had you on the show before. Very for those who have not, met you before, and there'll be a few people watching the show, because we get quite a few people watching even the replay. Hello to everyone watching the replay. Just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we'll get into our topic for today.
Sure. So my name is Michelle Markwart Deveaux, and I do two things. I work with voice users. So anyone who uses their voice to bring impact to the world, whether you're a singer, an actor, a podcaster, a TED talker, an executive. So I use with voice users to help not only their messaging, but to help their technical skill, their efficiency, and their presentation. And the second thing I work with voice empowerers and vocal champions. So voice teachers, SLPs, body workers that work with singers and other voice users, and I help them with their businesses. So I work on mindset. I work on getting businesses up and running well for the voice teachers and the voice trainers. And then I work with the voice users as well. So that's what I do. And it is really fun. I love it.
Cool. And you and I have gotten to know each other over the last number of years. I can't even remember how we first came into contact. It might have just been me inviting you onto the show, and we had such a good time. But that was a number of years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think 3 or 4.
Yeah. We're kind of, you're my sister from another mister. Okay, so
I love it.
Let's talk about, let's deep dive into today's subject, because I think this is such an important topic, and it's such a great topic for us to be talking about at the beginning of the year. And it's let's be really clear. Today we're not talking about just purely New Year's resolutions. We're going to be really talking about our mindset. You said it just before, and I can't think of a better person for me to be talking about this, because I know the messaging that I see you constantly putting out into social media and into the Speakeasy Collaborative, that there's got to be some changes around our mindset. But let's frame this up. Let's talk about, when we're using the terminology mindset, what are we talking about today, Michelle?
Well, I think we're generally talking about, I like to think of it like the glasses we wear when we're walking through the world. So how we interact with the stories that we tell ourselves. I like to think of mindset as this place, this set of assumptions and set of truisms that we choose to apply to everything that happens to us. And colors, like those rose colored glasses or those gray colored glasses, our interaction and our reaction to our relationships, the situations that happen to us, any sort of traumatic thing that can come to us, good or bad. So it's essentially the stories that live up here, and then how we respond based on those stories to what's happening out here.
I often, when I have a new student come in, I think singing is such a unique instrument to be learning.
Oh, yes.
And I don't say this with any level of disrespect to any of our friends who are play an instrument, as in an external instrument, piano, guitar, violin, whatever, harp. They're all very challenging things to learn and to craft and become skillful in. Singing has this added layer or layers that the individual has to learn to manage. And that is, we are the instrument. And we are learning, we continue to learn as pedagogues in the world of voice scientists, but beyond that sort of tighter sphere, where we're starting to learn things about the psyche of human beings, autonomic responses, fight and flight. We used to only think of fight and flight as being, around performance anxiety, but yet the autonomic nervous system is so complex, and it's such a burgeoning area of research.
Yes.
And so when a singer steps into either a teaching studio like myself or yours, or they step onto a stage, they step into their own practice room, everything about that human being steps into that space and comes to bear on whatever activity they are about to apply their voice to. How do we... Let's unpack that a little, because there's just so much in that. And you talked before about having the rose-colored glasses. It's that our world is filtered according to our unique experiences and biases, unconscious and conscious. How do we, when we come to this singing thing, like you can't know what you don't know, right? So even when we talk about unconscious bias, how do you can't even know that it's there. So how do we go about developing a positive mindset towards our voice?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing to do is to sit down and really try to figure out the difference between what is something you believe because you internally know it based on your experiences, the emotions that you have when you are singing, your desires around singing, and then what has been imposed upon you. So I call these things like, do you have like your core values around singing, or do you have adopted values around singing? Do you have something that you want to do, that you can do, that you love to do? Or do you have a set of boxes and check marks in your head that you feel that you have to accomplish in order to be a good singer? And I think what's really interesting about singing is that, when we are young, we just love to sing. Like kids, you either love it or you don't, right? You just love to sing. And it's not until, so sad to say this, but it's not until we get into a training situation that love is stolen away, because it becomes a set of rules. It becomes about do's and don'ts. It becomes about rights and wrongs. It becomes about false equivalencies of good sound and bad sound. And so for me, whenever I have a singer come into my studio, the first question I ask is, tell me why you love to sing. Why are we here today? Why do we get to sing today? And I really try to dig out all of the stuff that they love about singing before they learned how to start singing. Right?
Yeah.
And so if you're on this journey kind of on your own, that's the thing I would ask. Why do you love singing? Why do you love to sing? And when you can answer that honestly, because some of the answer might not be what other people think is a good reason, right? When you can answer that honestly, then that will set you up for being honest in the rest of the journey. Because as you and I both know, someone who is very committed to being a skillful, high level of musicianship, high level of consistency in their performance abilities, that's going to take a lot of work. So when you can really attach to your why you sing, I believe that will help set you up for success for all of the things that you're going to need to develop your grit through in order to accomplish what you want as a singer.
Let's talk to that word grit, because I have a sneaking suspicion, given our earlier conversation before we went live, that you've dropped that word intentionally. Bong! I want to talk to that because there is a great book out which my wife Jody is about to finish and is insistent that I read, but you mentioned it in our pre-chat.
Yeah.
Grit. There is a book. Talk to us about grit and what that is.
Yeah. So Angela Duckworth, who was a protege of Carol Dweck. Carol Dweck wrote the book Mindset. She's a doctor that talks about mindset. Her protege, Angela Duckworth, decided to take a piece of that and talk about the concept of grit. Like, what is grit? Who has grit? What does grit look like in everyday life? And so this book, I would recommend any person read it because it's very easy. It's very accessible, first of all. If you have read Carol Dweck and you felt like it was a little dry, Angela Duckworth's book is a little more engaging, in my opinion. And what she offers is that grit is kind of this other thing that we can develop as a skill that gives us the ability to be persistent and committed to things that are important to us, even when it gets hard. And then she explores kind of what grit can look like in different kind of areas. So she talks a little bit about what it looks like in like the military schools in the United States. She talks about what it looks like in sports and in music, and how it's related to learning, how grit is related to learning, how it's related to flow, flow state of mind, which is kind of when you're lost in it, you're just in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And I do not know how to pronounce the man's name who wrote Flow, and there's like 17 consonants, and I just apologize right now. But if someone would like to, I think Karen is probably in the chat, and Karen will know who that person is, so I can drop Karen.
She can drop the name. I can't pronounce it either, so we're at a loss to declare who the writer of Flow is. But I think it's a concept that many who are watching will be familiar with, that state of flow that we're all, I think, so keen to arrive in, to find ourselves in with singing particularly. And from memory, and I'm going to throw you a bit of a curveball for trying to remember this, but Jody, who's been talking to me about this book, Grit, while she's been reading it, talks about the balance between what they looked at. She looked at successful people who would be known to have grit, and she compared, there were 2 points of balance or something. Are you familiar with what I'm referring to there? No,
I don't remember. Sorry. No, I don't remember.
I wish I'd read the book before today, which I haven't, which I'm going to.
But I think, Dr. Dan, I think it goes to this. Singers have been sold a bill of goods that there is a special certain way that you have to sing in order to be a good singer.
Yeah.
And while it is very true that there are definitely physical I'm a voice teacher. Obviously, I believe it's true. I make money off of it, right? That's how I make my living and pay my bills. But I think the bill of goods is this. if you don't sound the way that the teacher thinks you should sound, you are not singing well. And that is not inherently true. So I think it all goes to this, to the mindset thing. I think we as singers need to reclaim our power in the training process. A lot of the mindset stuff, because I work with a lot of singers who come to me after they've been trained with other folks. And so much of the unpacking that we do for the first 6 months is just letting themselves believe that they can trust themselves with their own voice.
Yeah.
That I am not the person that makes the ultimate decision about what feels good, what does not. And I mean, literally feel good, like what feels physically fine, what feels emotionally fine. And that no teacher is ultimately responsible for that, but that you as the singer are. And then you have a co-responsibility with your teacher to find the most effective, efficient, healthy, consistent, sustainable way for you to constantly be using your instrument the way that you choose, whether it's an amplified sound, you know, like a pop, rock, jazz, world music sound, or it's an unamplified sound like we would see in classical singing and in opera.
Let's just take a quick moment to really highlight the point that you've just made, that probably the one thing I'm always so super keen to communicate to my students is I don't get to decide what sound you make. However, I am very keen for it to be healthy.
Yes.
I'm very keen for it to be sustainable. You know, I don't want you to just be able to do it for 90 seconds on a TV talent show. I want you to be able to do it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And I often talk to my students about an added layer around that healthy, sustainable comment. And that is that the World Health Organization, and I don't, because we're having a free-flowing chat here, I don't have the direct quote available. But
Sure.
the World Health Organization nominate that a voice complaint or a voice issue is a disabled voice is nominated not by the fraternity of voice carers, you know, voice care professionals, but by the user. And so it is always the user of the voice that can determine whether their voice is healthy. And now,
yes,
if you've got a polyp, then that would classify as you've got a pathology that would be problematic. However, we still don't get to determine as voice care professionals what that person should then do with that. So, you know, polyp or cyst or what have you.
Yeah.
You know, and there you can hear there are limitations to what I'm saying, but it all comes back to the user, doesn't it? It all comes back to what do you want to do with your voice?
Yes. And it's so, because the voice is so inherently connected to the emotion and identity centers of our brains, because the voice is literally an extension of a personhood. I think that's the other thing that makes it so difficult around mindset, because I mean, one person telling you that you can't sing when you love to sing is damaging. It is hurtful, and it can put you in a place where then you're constantly second guessing your own experience with your own body and your own ears.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side, sometimes we double down on that and we kind of say, well, you know, I'm going to do whatever I want. And you double down, you're not willing to grow. You're not willing to hear an outside opinion that says, hey, I think we can get you where you want to go if you would trust me a little more, right? So it's this crazy combination of, as a singer, I would like to be able to trust myself enough to trust another person
Yep.
with my instrument.
Yep. It's Evo has just given us a super chat, and he's written preparation, training, and commitment, of course, but then he's in inverted commas, trust yourself with your voice is his takeaway from the show. So he says a big thank you for that.
Thank you, Evo.
And this is the thing. In fact, Isaiah has asked a question in the chat asking, you know, what does correct singing feel like? And this is, herein lies one of the challenges, Isaiah, for us as singing teachers who teach from this sort of orientation. And that is, it's not, you know, it's for us to lead you into your own experiences of what your good singing will feel like. There are certainly, we're always looking to help you learn to manage your tension, and we're wanting to have you experience what your resonance will be. But because our morphologies, that is the anatomical dynamics and shapes and spaces for us are all different, the way you experience your voice is going to be different to the way I experience my voice. And if we go back 100 years, 100 years ago, teaching had got to a point where it was so monkey see, monkey do, that that me as a you know, very high tenor would only find themselves teaching high tenors, because the only way I could teach another person would be to have them experience physically and have the same sound and everything be the same. But we don't, certainly I don't, and I know Michelle doesn't, we don't teach from that orientation any longer, because our understanding around voice has expanded thanks to the work of voice scientists and, you know, the worldwide collective of knowledge now around the research of voice, which we continue to learn so much about. Do you have anything to sort of say to Isaiah in regards to that? What should correct singing feel like, Michelle?
Yeah, I actually really appreciate this question, Isaiah, because I think it's so heartfelt and so real.
Yeah.
Because, you know, while you are totally 100% right that so many voice professionals now very much care about understandings of voices, but can teach the voice in front of them, there's still many teachers out there that know how to sing for themselves, but maybe have not taken the training journey to learn how to work with another person's voice.
Yeah.
And that's where this question comes from.
Yeah.
Because the teacher will say, well, it should feel like blank. And so then, you know, this heartfelt question from Isaiah is like, well, what should it feel like? What should it, you know, that, because that's what I'm supposed to ask, right? Like the question is, what should it feel like? Correct. Yeah. And so I actually want to offer, Isaiah, that you change your question. And instead of saying, what should this feel like? What does good singing feel like? Ask yourself, when I am my best, what sounds am I able to produce? And what do I experience? Because chances are, when you ask the question that way, you will now experience your voice more fully, and you'll be able to tell the difference between something that is uncomfortable for a moment, but communicating what you want, like what I like to call a necessary tension or a necessary compensation. And you'll be able to tell the difference between that and something that is a consistent lockup of the body, an unnecessary tension, and an unnecessary compensation. And you will know that when you do it over and over again, and something either clicks or it doesn't. So I want to invite you to not worry about how it should sound, but to worry about your own experience in your body and in your sound, And then if it's getting you the results that you want. And then if it is or is not, that's when you can go to kind of a professional teacher and say, this is what it feels like to me. And that professional teacher should be able to say to you, okay, that could be an indication of an unnecessary tension here, or an overuse of muscles here, or an underuse of breath here. Let's explore those things and see how that changes your physical experience and your sound experience.
Yeah.
So-
I often have a follow-up question to students who say, did that, they'll express the experience of their sound. And I'm learning to respond to that expression with, did you experience that as a positive? Was that a positive experience for you?
I like that.
Yeah, and I'm a bit ashamed actually, because I think of all the times where I should have responded with that, because I now know that often the student does respond with, actually, yeah, it felt really good. And I go, well, go there, keep doing that. That's, whereas perhaps in the past I might have gone, oh, okay, I don't know about that. Maybe, because maybe their language, the way they would have described it, may not have, sat well with my, certain ideologies. Yeah, but I think, if you can nominate as the singer yourself, if you can nominate something as being, as really having a sense of non-dissonance with your own being, then that can be, that's not a I guess it's not an ironclad, 100% that's always going to work, but with the instruction, when you're working with a teacher, that can be a really positive way forward. I also want to throw in another thought, Michelle. We use the term rehabilitation around, voices that have fallen into disrepair, and but I love the language that is not being used so much now, but usually I think speech pathologists use it more than we as singing teachers use it, and that is the habilitation. So if we think about a voice that is not undergoing rehabilitation, but I love the idea that we are, as singers that have a healthy neutral voice, we are learning to inhabit our voice. What do you think about that as a concept, from when we talk about that holistic view of voice?
Yeah. Well, in the United States, those two words are used very intentionally because of legal issues. So I don't know how it is where you are, but even though I might have the skill set and the knowledge to rehabilitate a voice, I am not going to say that, because I am not a doctor. I am not a trained speech language pathologist. But what I can say, and what I do feel comfortable saying, is I will habilitate the voice, right? So after you've gone through protocol, after you've been with your otolaryngologist and your speech singing voice specialist, I can take you from there to back consistent functional singing. But I really I just wanted to kind of clarify that for anyone who might be listening.
Good clarification.
Yeah. And then, but I love this idea of the inhabiting of the voice.
Yeah.
And what I love about that is, because you know how when you sing and you're singing in front of other people and you shake, or you get nervous, or you suddenly almost lose physical control of yourself, right? Maybe the jaw starts to shake, or the breath, the diaphragm, and the external obliques, or whatever muscles get, your intercostals, they all kind of just go on you, right? And they grab.
Yeah. And
you start to shake, and it's almost like you can't help it. And I think that this is such an interesting concept of, if we apply inhabiting our voices, it invites us to be so present in the moment of song.
Yeah.
And isn't it really, when we get in those, well, I would say for myself, whenever I get in a moment where I get that kind of uncontrollable nerves, if you will, It's because I have forgotten again why I am singing. And I have forgotten that ultimately at the end of the day, there are 500 people out there who are going to think that I am amazing. And there are 500 people out there that are going to think I suck rotten toes, right? Like it does
you
not
suck
matter.
Rotten what?
Toes. Like at the end of the day, my job is to inhabit the song I am singing, the character I am auditioning with, the notes that the lyrics that the composers and the lyricists put on the page. The end of the day, my job is to inhabit that music. And when I do that, I have no room left to be worried about what anyone else in the room thinks.
It's such a challenging thing for some people, isn't it? And I'll put my hand up and say, you know, I've had moments of my career where the thought of what others will think, say, do in response to what I'm putting out there is so dominating, and so it creates so much fear that moving through that, and so much of it is this, you know, and so
yes,
and it's being driven by my autonomic nervous system that is starting to shallow breathe, is starting to, you know, drive adrenaline through my system like nobody's business, but not in a healthy, positive way, but in a negative way. And so when that is the case for someone, what are your thoughts around how does a person move through that? And I'm trying to not use really, you know, oversimplified language to avoid, you know, trivializing or simplifying it to the point of it being patronizing.
Yeah. Well, so I'm not an expert on performance anxiety, and I would highly suggest if you have a true performance anxiety situation, there are people who know what they are doing in this area, and it is worth your time and money to speak with them and get tools from them. The very surface, again, to not trivialize it and to be very clear that there are experts at this, I start with really asking myself and the student, what do you need to feel prepared? So that there's a very clear rubric for the student to say, this is what I know that I need to do in order for me to feel like I am fully prepared for this audition, this performance, this insert thing. And when we start digging into that, then the teacher responsibility is to say, oh, okay, well, is that a realistic thing that you can expect? Is that something you have control over? Or is that something that you don't have control over? Can we talk about which things are there for you and which things are not? That's one thing that I would say. The second thing is to invite yourself to ground yourself in either sights or sounds, or even if you can even have a mantra where you like take your finger, maybe push on your leg, or you push your fingers together and you're just bringing yourself back into that moment. Here's where I am. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I want to sing. I think that can be helpful as well. But I do find a lot of people don't take the time to set their own agreements with themselves around. So I would also like people to make an agreement with themselves about what they will find and feel to be success is in whatever their performance.
Yeah,
singing situation is.
I'm just letting everyone know, I am conscious, everyone, that we've got some connection issues going on with Michelle. It's just a bandwidth issue, Michelle, and I'll just respond to that bit we can't do anything about. But I'll just respond to what you're saying. I think I would be encouraging people who are, I want to really reaffirm what you've just said and assert it's so important that if performance anxiety, for example, is an area that is really challenging for you, absolutely seek professional advice and intervention with that. And by that I mean a trained psychologist. And also find yourself with a teacher who will support you through that is not going to belittle that experience, that just says, oh, everyone gets nervous. A good deal of us do get nervous, but heightened performance anxiety can be a real challenge, and can require extra layers of care and intervention and therapy. So most certainly want to re-endorse what Michelle is saying there. We're nearly out of time, Michelle, and I can see that I think audio is okay, but your bandwidth is still giving us some heartache. Well, I don't know whether it's your bandwidth, it might be mine. We've got a couple of questions here that sort of speak to the creative singers asking, how do you keep your posture? We might hold that question over for another time, simply because I'd love to I'm looking here at a thing over here. I'd love to talk to questions as to the subject. We'll just quickly answer creative singer's question. How do you keep your posture well while holding an instrument like a guitar, and how to work on confidence? Well, that'll speak to something. Let's talk to the word confidence just briefly.
Yeah. Well, again, you're not gonna like my answer. What does it mean for you to be confident? Describe to me, when you are confident, what has to happen for you to self-define confidence? What is happening in the room? What is happening in your body? What kind of feedback are you getting? Do you have control over that feedback? What does confidence mean? Because ultimately, confidence is built by a reinforcement that you're doing okay. And so if you have no rubric around what it means to be confident, you have no real measurables that you can point to that say, I will feel successful when, or when I do this, I feel successful. It's going to be very, very difficult for you to ever feel confident.
Yeah.
Because you'll constantly be asking, am I good enough? Does it sound right? Does it, whatever that is. So I know it sounds like a non-answer, but really confidence is about a deep commitment to self-exploration.
And that's not going to be a short journey, is it? A deep commitment to self-exploration. That's going to take time.
No, it's a journey that never ends until you meet your maker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So I feel sad that my internet is being a jerk face.
It is the world of, I mean, how, I know we do complain about technology a lot, but how fortunate are we to be able to do this, in any which way? When I started teaching 26 years ago this year, I couldn't have even imagined this would be a part of what I do, that we would be connecting, that Michelle, that you and I would have the opportunity to have met, to connect, to regularly catch up, to have people in a live chat spending the time with us all together. So yeah, technology is a bit fickle, but equally we're so fortunate, aren't we, to be able to do it. And I really do appreciate you having taken the time on your Sunday evening to spend with us. I'm just going to let's just answer Jersey's question just to finish off, because that's the last question that was asked in the chat. Is it safe to sing when your throat is okay but having something going on with your chest?
I do not feel comfortable. I don't know what's going on in your chest, right?
Yeah.
So that feels a little that feels like a scary question for me to answer, because I don't have enough information.
Yeah.
So I would say, let's say you're perfectly healthy. Let's say you're perfectly healthy. There's nothing going on with your lung capacity. Your heart is the way that your heart should be. Your, you have structural integrity in your ribs and all of that. I think it's probably fine to sing. And then maybe you can explore loosening up the muscles around the rib cage. Maybe you can do some movement. You can say, well, what is actually feeling tight in my chest? Do I feel out of breath? Some deep breathing exercises, some slow, maybe a 3-count inhale and a 5-count exhale to reset the vagal nerve, and to help reset that autonomic system. Also asking, the breath practice that you're using, is it in alignment with the singing genre that you are doing?
Yeah.
The cool thing about the breath, we have so many stories about how you're supposed to use your breath when you sing. So many stories. For as many voice teachers, there are as many breathing techniques, right? So I would, again, I'm not a doctor. I've never heard you sing. I have no idea what you look like. So that's a kind of a tricky question to answer, Josie. But I think if you would explore why you're feeling a little tight in your chest, and then if you do need to see a doctor, if that's like a consistent thing, make it okay. Probably going to be okay if everything's going all right and you just kind of need to free up some of the musculature.
Yeah, Jersey, I'd find myself doubling down on exactly what Michelle's just said. And one of the challenges that I responded to an email just before we came live with someone. I get multiple emails a week from people all over the world asking questions about their voice and what have you. And this person was what we go looking for assurance, we go looking for answers, and that's a very natural thing for us to do. But it is so difficult because we are our instrument, and I think this is the end of our arc for today in what we've been talking about. Because this thing, our instrument, is so complex. It's biological, it's psychological, it's emotions, it's the person's history. All of this is wrapped up in this human being that encases the voice. And so when someone like myself responds with, more often than not, I always feel like I'm responding, and I know, Michelle, you'll feel the same way. We always feel like we're responding with an answer that is not what was being hoped for. It's because until maybe a person is standing in front of us and we can see that person, or they've actually had their voice fully assessed by an otolaryngologist, a laryngologist, sometimes we don't know. And we have to sit comfortable with that, don't we? That not knowing that, and for us as singing teachers, we sometimes have to be brave enough to say, I don't know. I don't have the answer for you. And so, Jersey, hopefully you can, all things being equal, as Michelle just laid out, if all things being equal, it's just a chesty cough or something, then you can take on board what Michelle said. But otherwise, I'd go and have that looked at by a healthcare professional. Michelle, That has been fun. I knew it would be.
Be careful. Oh, can I say one more thing?
Please do.
Can I the mindset? I think it is to the mindset thing.
Yeah.
The thing that is so miraculous about the voice is that you, Dr. Dan, and I, and any person in the chat, we could all do exactly the same thing with our bodies. We could put diodes in there and we could get under an MRI. Every single one of us could be sending the same amount of breath pressure through the vocal folds. We could have our pharynx, nasopharynx, neuropharynx all in the same shape. Our tongues can be in the same basic position, and every single one of us would sound different.
Every single one.
Every single one of us would have, every single one of us would have a different experience of that acoustical phenomena that is our voice.
Yeah. Yep.
And any person who is going to just tell you, this is what it feels like, this is what to do, this is right, and this is wrong, what that communicates to me is that person is not taking singing in general seriously. And they are not taking the deep, like you said, the holistic understanding of how our voice exists in the world and why it exists in the world for communication and language and relationship, all of that.
Yeah.
It is not true that there is a right way and a wrong way to sing.
Yep.
That is not true. It is not true. And people who continue to insist there is a right way and a wrong way, it's very, very frustrating. There is an efficient way and an inefficient way. There is a healthy way and an unhealthy way. There is a sustainable way and an unsustainable way. But there's not right and wrong. And be very careful of any person who is going to tell you, you are doing it wrong. Because not only is that just bad for your mindset because someone was a yo-yo butt to you, but it's not true, and it holds you back, and it puts you in a situation where you're constantly looking for the right answer instead of the appropriate answer. And I just felt like I just had to say that.
I love it. It's a good way for us to finish. I love it when you throw your enthusiasm in there, Michelle. That's good. It's very good. We'll call it a day because I've got to go and teach. My next student will be wondering where I'm getting to if I don't finish up. As much as I would love to keep chatting, and Michelle, it's always such a great pleasure to have you on the show. Even when your Zoom window has been reduced to like a little thing, but it has been so good to have you on the show, and we will do it again, no doubt. But I just thank you very much, and I hope that you have a great week. There you go, everyone. Another fantastic hangout with Michelle, despite the little tech issue that we had. I know there's just been so much in today's discussion for you, for me, for Michelle. We're all in this together ultimately. And you hear me say it all the time here. And this is a big part of what today's discussion was about, is the reason why here at Voice Essentials, this is the channel where everybody sings. That's it, period. Everybody sings. And we don't place any, professional, non-professional, good, bad, indifferent qualification. It's just where everybody sings. And so as you go into your week, I hope you sing. I hope you explore the expression of your own psyche with your voice in whatever capacity you decide to do that with, whether it be for yourself, whether it be for... I've got a student who recently started because she wants to be able to sing with a sweeter voice for her grandchild while she is putting her to sleep. That is her sole reason. What a wonderful reason for singing. Whatever your reason is, I do hope that you'll really have a great week with your voice. And we will see you all next week. We do these every Monday, Australian Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Have a check of your time, because next week will start in a week's time from about 55 minutes earlier than what it is right now. Hit the thumbs up button if you've enjoyed today's chat. Subscribe to the channel and hit the white bell icon. You know all the stuff to do. And we'll catch up with you next week for a Q&A, where we're going to answer your questions. We didn't get to a few of the questions today. We'll answer your questions next week. I hope you'll join us then. And, very quick, Evo's throwing another super chat. Evo, thank you very much, mate. Looking forward to our private lesson, Evo. We'll catch you in the next couple of weeks. I'll catch you all next week when we talk again. I'll see you soon. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.